Hi everyone, welcome to Engineering Simplified. In this video, we are going to have a look at how you can store variables in MATLAB and access them. Before we dig into that, we need to understand why do we need to store variables in the first place. Let's say you are working on a tough assignment or a homework question and you work a number of hours but you aren't able to finish it in one go. So you take a break, you put your computer on hibernation or even shut it down, and when you come back and open it up and open MATLAB again, all your work is lost. So in order to avoid that, you need to save all the variables that you create. How do you do it? It's pretty simple. Let me create a number of variables first. Let me write height as 10, mass as 100, and gravitational constant as 9.81. Did you notice that when I typed out height, it printed out height again as 10, but when I typed out mass and gravity, it did not print it again. The reason is that because I used this semicolon operator, which is the terminator or suppressor operator in MATLAB. So if you use this at the end of defining a variable, the variable does not get outputted into the command window again. So it is always a good practice to use a semicolon whenever defining a variable. So now I have defined these three variables and I can see in the workspace here all three variables are stored. I can see their value, I can see their size, their bytes and their class. Now let's say I need to calculate the potential energy. I know that the formula of potential energy is mass times gravity times height. So in order to calculate potential energy, I define a new variable. Let me call it potential energy. Not very clever, I know. So it is mass times gravity times height, and I again use this semicolon operator. So now you see that a variable potential energy is created in the workspace with the value of 9810. If I need to access the value of any variable, I can simply type out the name of the variable and press enter, and here I get it. There is another command which is called whos. If I write whos and press enter, it shows me all the variables that I have stored in the workspace and their size and the class and their details. So now how do I store these variables? In order to store these variables, I simply type out the command save. I type out save, I press enter, and it tells me it is saving it to this and this location, which is the same as this location right here, which is your top bar, which is your current folder. And you can see here the file has been created, which is matlab.mat. This is always going to be the default name if you just write save and press enter. And here you can see a small preview of what the variables are in this file, and you can always load them up. So how do you load them up? Let me just clear out the command window first by using CIC command. Notice that the CIC command did not affect the workspace. It just clears out the command window. In order to clear out the workspace, I use a command which is clear. I press enter and now the workspace is gone. If I need to load these variables back into the workspace, what you need to do is you simply need to write load, press enter, and your variable get loaded. So this was the first way of saving a variable. There is another way too, which I think is easier than this. So instead of typing out anything, you just go to the workspace, press it, make sure it is highlighted, and press Ctrl S on your keyboard. And this pop-up opens up. You can change the name of the file. Let me type it as test123 and press enter, and you can see that this file has been created. So how do I load this? In the very same way, let me clear the command window, let me clear the workspace. So in order to load this, since this is not the default name anymore, I have written the name on my own. I need to type out the name after writing load. So I write load space test123, press enter, and my workspace gets populated. Let me show you another way of how I can load this. Let me clear it out. In order to load this, I can simply go here and double click this, and here it tells me it is loading this and the workspace gets loaded. Just one last thing I want to tell you guys is that there are times when you are working on MATLAB for hours and hours and you create a number of variables. There may be times when you create several dozen variables, but you don't need all of them in the future. You just need a few of them. So let me make a few of them. Let's say x is 2, y is 3, and z is 4. Oops, I forgot to write the terminator operator here. Anyways, so I've got these 3 variables, but I only need to save one of them. So how I can do that is I again write save followed by space and I type out the file name. So I say MATLAB 123, this is the file name, and followed by the variable that I need to save. So if I just need to save x, I type out x and press enter. And here you will see in a while that a new file is created, which is MATLAB 123 right here. And if I press this, I can see that it only has one variable, which is x. So if I need to load this again, I can simply just double click this and here it comes in the workspace. Hopefully you found this video useful. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos. And as always, see you in the next video.